exclusive presentation of Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports.
For Coach K, the 5th time was the charm. His team won it all last season and returns 2 All-Americans and 4 starters from that high-flying national championship squad. The Blue Devils are on top of the rankings and have the nation's longest winning streak. Gary Williams' intensity and coaching talent produced a surprising team a year ago. That was without his Cole Fieldhouse wizard. But Walt Williams is back and healthy and leads Maryland as they hope to dunk #1 Duke tonight.
Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports present the best in college basketball, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Tonight's game is brought to you by Natural Light, Pepsi, Food Lion, Nationwide Insurance, Lowe's, and by US Air.
Sold out Cole Fieldhouse in College Park, Maryland. Tonight, the Maryland Terrapins take on the #1 team in the land, the Blue Devils of Duke. A packed house, and for the first time in over a year, Maryland will be playing on live TV. We're glad to have them back, and we're glad to have you back with us. Hi again, everybody. I'm Brad Nessler, and welcome to College Park. It's rocking already as Maryland gets ready for the #1 team in the country, the Duke Blue Devils, tonight. Last year, Gary Williams' team went 16-12. They won 5 ACC games, but of course, there was no postseason. And while they have that same postseason banishment coming up again this year, it doesn't mean his team was without goals for 1992.
We're picked 8th in the league, but which is it's a step up from the first 2 years where we were picked last. I mean, we didn't finish last, but we were picked there each year. And we just want to make some progress this year to put ourselves in a position to really go when we get the opportunity.
Well, opportunity knocks tonight against the #1 team in the country. Let's bring in our #1 guy, Billy Packer. Gary Williams, you've known him a long time, Billy, and he gets it done wherever he is, but it's a tough task when you don't have any postseason ahead of you.
It really is, Brad, but we've got to go back a few years, thinking of the early years of the Mike Krzyzewski reign at Duke University. They were mired in last place. There were a lot of people questioning whether or not Mike Krzyzewski could ever get the Duke program out of those doldrums. I don't think anybody ever questioned if Gary Williams can do it. And he's a guy that sees the light at the tunnel. He's been burdened with all of these pressures for the last couple of years, but this program has turned around. Tonight's task, however, is one that even for Gary Williams may be insurmountable.
Right now, Duke #1 in the nation, 8-0. And we're going to talk more about this matchup when we come back right after this. All set for their Terrapins tonight to try to win their first ACC game. To do it, they're going to have to do some things better than they have so far earlier in the season. Let's take a look at our 4 keys to the game and start with Maryland, Billy.
Well, in regard to the starters, Maryland plays an intense style of basketball. So does Duke University, which means you usually go to your bench. But for Maryland, their guys in the starting lineup are playing 30-plus minutes a game. That's very difficult.
And they have not shot well over the course of the last 6 games. In fact, the last 2 games under 40%. Are you talking about defending national champions? We could go down the list for Duke. Do they have a crack in their sidewalk? Do they have a weak point or not?
Well, the only thing, and I go back to last year at this time when UNLV was expected to be the dominant team, but they did not win a national championship. Usually, a club like Duke or Vegas that have so many positive things going for them, the mental strain of being #1, undefeated and defending national champion may be too much for anybody to handle. We'll have to see about Duke. It didn't work for Vegas.
Well, it didn't work for Maryland last year trying to pick off Duke either. They lost by an average of 18 points in the last 2 games against the Blue Devils, and they've lost 8 straight to Duke. They're going to try to snap that string when we come back. We'll have our starting lineups after this from our good friends at Budweiser.
Just another Saturday afternoon until those old guys came out of the woods with axes.
Old Fieldhouse sold out tonight for this matchup between Maryland and #1 Duke. And let's take a look at our low starting lineups for tonight's game. First for Duke, Thomas Hill and Brian Davis up front. Christian Laettner at the center spot. The backcourt, Grant Hill and Bobby Hurley. You'd be hard-pressed to find 5 better in the country to start a game. For Maryland, Rodnax and Smith at the forward spots, Burns at the center, and McClinton and Walt Williams, their sensational point guard in the backcourt. Mike Krzyzewski, there's a record at Duke, 17-10 against the Terrapins. And Gary Williams, Duke is the only team he has not beaten as head coach of the Terrapins, and there's his record, 42-30. This is a 117th meeting between these two clubs. The Blue Devils, as we said, going into the last break, have won 8 straight, and Duke leads overall 72-44. Our officials, Larry Rose, Tim Higgins, and Chuck Pitts, we're set for ACC basketball from College Park.
Williams with that big vertical leap. Got the tap on Leitner. Well, what a matchup here. A 6'8" point guard against a 6-foot point guard. Be fun to watch.
He went right at Hurley, but missed the jumper.
Now, what is interesting, you know, for young players that ever get in a so-called mismatch size-wise, it'll be fun to watch how Hurley attacks the dribble down low and how Walt Williams will try to keep the ball up above his shoulders and go right over the top of Hurley as a shooter. Maryland starts off in a 1-2-2 zone, packed way in, trying to force Duke to show they can shoot the outside jumper.
Hurley backs up. He'll start over with 23 on the shot clock.
Duke has been somewhat reluctant to put that outside jumper up, but I would expect that we're going to see Thomas Hill, Grant Hill, and Hurley all going after it. There is one.
There's Thomas Hill. Can't get it. Maryland's rebound is Garfield Smith. And we got a foul after the rebound.
A couple of things about this particular type of defense. Number one, as far back as it's packed in there, Brad, you can go ahead and set yourself up to take some jumpers even inside the three-point line. You don't have to extend yourself beyond it. There are 15 and 18-foot jump shots available.
They gave up a couple, in fact, last time.
Sure. Nice feed inside, low 6.
And Hurley stepped on the line trying for the steal. Mike Krzyzewski says Bobby Hurley's strong point is his defense. Well, that defense, as Billy said, will be tested tonight against a guy a lot taller. Right now, that's not the matchup, though. It's Thomas Hill on Walt Williams.
And a much more realistic matchup size-wise, and one of the things that Duke can do a lot. They will do a lot of switching, so they're in a position that now they've got a situation where it's switched again. So he's had 3 different men guarding.
Burns with the first basket of the night.
Hard working. 1-3-1 press coming up now, little half court.
Grant Hill, who had a career night the other night against Florida State. Here's Davis. And he buries a 2-pointer.
And you notice that Brian Davis was inside the three-point line. Nobody within 10 feet of him when he caught that pass. So they're going to give him a shot early on.
Williams again takes Hurley to the hole, but lost it en route.
3-on-2 break. Good shot.
Nice pass to Hill. Give Hurley an assist, the 636th of his career.
Bobby Hurley looked to the left and dished off nicely. Just froze that defender.
A tough man-to-man defense from Duke. Williams outside. Real strong.
And early on, I don't think that's a shot Williams ought to be taking.
Duke 4-2 as we're about 2.5 minutes into the game.
Christian Leitner hasn't touched it inside yet. That's somebody they can go to.
Thomas Hill. That's a 2-pointer as well from the baseline.
I think Duke would be smart, even though it looks like that zone's packed way in, to get the ball to Christian Leitner, breaking up the line on the inside.
Here's Smith in close. Short arm. A one-hand hook. It'll still be Maryland ball.
Brad, when you look at the Duke team, it's not a huge team, at least not until they bring Cherokee Parks in the game. When you look at that front line, but the two Hills and Davis all really can play almost any position on the floor with their leaping ability and their quickness.
Duke ball with a 6-2 lead. Duke has not trailed much this year. In fact, you saw them trail against Michigan a little bit, but for all but about 8 minutes and 20 seconds, they've been ahead in every game they've been in.
Correct, and in the Michigan game, of course, they had a huge lead in that first half, only to see it taken away from them, and then they battled back, showing an awful lot of intensity defensively to keep themselves against a tough crowd and a good ball club.
Duke's only missed once from the field. Davis will take it outside again. Got his second jumper of the night. Ryan Davis with 4.
Brad, you were looking for cracks in the sidewalk. One of them apparently is not the back. The outside shooting is not there, even with the loss of Billy McCaffrey.
Duke ups their lead to 6.
Here's a matchup Duke would like right now. Really going out and trying to give Broadnax a rough time.
And credit Brian Davis with a nice job of defense on Walt Williams. Second turnover against Maryland, and really their only basket was on a loose ball. Here's another look.
Now Davis really sitting down here. He's got the size and the strength to stay with Williams.
Grant Hill, his first jumper won't go. And Smith clears the board for Maryland. Maryland's got to get some kind of offense. As we said, the only basket they have was basically off a loose ball in the lane.
Maybe they can think about posting up Williams a little bit with Hurley.
Their outside shooting has not been their strong suit. It isn't early here. Smith misses.
Well, the last 3 games, they're 10 for 40 from the 3-point line. Here's an opportunity to make some offense out of defense. Give it back. Nice pass.
Great lead for Williams.
Let's assume that Broadnax intended to make that pass, or it might have been stolen, but in either case, it was the right thing to do.
Vince will put it in his highlight film either way.
And good hustle by Williams coming all the way from the backside to get in the lane.
Davis kicks it up the hill. Hurley will take a 3.
Bobby is now 2 away from becoming the all-time 3-point career shooter at Duke University and still has time to go in his career, so he's going to shatter that record.
That record's Phil Henderson, and Phil's probably watching somewhere tonight knowing it may go this evening. 15 minutes to go first half. It is 11-4, Duke in front.
And Williams is too far away from the basket to start his offense against the Hurley, who can stay with his dribble.
And they wave off the drive by McClinton. Leitner holds his ground. 14:53 to go in the half. Duke leads by 7.
Particularly basketball team as they have, you've got to be able to get some perimeter shooting in the game right now, and you can see, as I mentioned to you, they're 10 for 40, which is 25% the last 3 games. 4 for 15, 4 for 12, and 2 for 13. So they've got to get a lot of points off their defense to make up for that, and as you can see, they're off to a slow start tonight at 2 for 7.
Meanwhile, Duke over 70% with that 5 of 7 shooting, and that is how the stats in the ACC look too, as Duke's up there 56% from the field.
Here's the 1-3-1 zone trap. I think a key for Maryland, as I pointed out, is Walt Williams is going to have to get himself in a little better offensive position to start when he still has his dribble, as opposed to trying to attack that defense from maybe 32 feet out, as the way he's been so far. Zone matching up. Christian Leitner still has not touched the ball on the inside. Probably something Mike Krzyzewski talked about during that. There he is, and they've got to hit him with the ball some. He was ready.
5.5 minutes into the game, and the All-American touches it for the first time. It only took him about a second to make it count.
Exactly, and what that does is it does not allow Maryland to not get in foul trouble. You've got to go inside some of the ball and just not work on the perimeter, and Duke really lives on the foul line. They're great at it.
And defense to offense, and he walked with it as he'll try to go behind the back to get an opening.
Well, it was not a fancy play that Thomas Hill tried to make. That was the only way to get the ball to the basket. Very gifted move.
That's Maryland's 4th turnover, but Duke turned it right back over with the walk by Hill, and Maryland trailing by 9.
See, again, there's Walt trying to create an offense, and he started that time putting the move on Bobby Hurley at half court. Well, I mean, not only do you have to beat Hurley, who is great against his dribble, you have to beat the men then that pick you up thereafter. And when Williams got ready to get off an offensive maneuver, he basically exhausted all his moves and runs into a charge.
13:55 to go in the half, and a 9-point Duke lead. Grant Hill had that gone, it would have been his 5th assist of the night already. So Hill's looking to dish to his teammates, as he did most of the offense the other night against Florida State.
And what does that create? Not only Leitner inside with a high percentage shot, but again, his 2nd foul and as many times down the floor. He is really moving quickly to the ball right now, and I'd be willing to bet anything that that's what Mike Krzyzewski talked about at that timeout. Let's go inside with the ball, not be satisfied with a perimeter shot.
Well, there's a rarity. Christian Leitner misses a free throw. He had a string of 35 straight at one point snapped this year, and as you saw, over 91% on the season. Hits the second one. Leitner with 3, and it's a 10-point Duke lead.
And here Duke goes to a little press of their own. Cross court, not there.
Davis with a steal.
Telegraph.
Great give and go.
Nice.
Nice pass. Grant Hill finishes it. Nobody selfish there. Maryland wants to talk it over before it's too late. They trail by 12. 13:36 to go in the half. We'll be back after this from our good friends at Budweiser. All points off turnovers, right?
Well, it really is, and this is a classic. A double team in a perfect situation. But Clinton actually telegraphed this pass and allowed Davis, who was just sitting back there almost as a free safety. Clinton's dad, of course, a former player for the Redskins, would understand that. The free safety coming over to intercept that pass that was really telegraphed and came all the way across court. About a 55-foot pass is bound to be picked off. 13
possessions for Maryland. They have turned it over 6 times, missed 5 shots, and have 2 field goals in the other 2 trips down court.
I think the key for Maryland here quickly is to put McClinton in the backcourt, allow Williams to get down inside a little bit and not have to travel so far in his attempt to score.
You were drawing during the timeout for me, telling me that Williams has got to get down under the basket and then clear back out to the top.
Yeah, and not worry about scoring on the initial thrust with his ball. You know, every time he's going to score immediately.
Almost another steal by Thomas Hill.
And it's Davis on him now.
Another miss. Williams got the loose ball.
Well, I didn't mean to get down in that close, but of course you can see right there that he is a force, whether he's inside or out, and that's why I say they need to start inside a little bit more with him.
Grant Hill plays the point at times when Bobby Hurley gets a rest.
Maryland goes man-to-man for the first time tonight. Duke immediately goes to Leitner. Grant Hill's wide open.
Thomas Hill on top, guarded by Smith. 10-point Duke lead and 15 on the shot clock.
Duke goes to their 1-4 set, way down low. Hurley pops out.
Hurley trying to force one into Leitner, and they get a foul out of it.
Jerry Williams really working him on the sidelines, but they did reach around here, kind of a touch foul, but you can see coming right over the top, a little bit strong was Burns.
Jerry Williams wasn't crazy about the call. And a fresh shot clock
nice
for Duke.
move.
Davis fouled en route.
You know, he's a very underrated ball player with the dribble. And you can see Garfield Smith is used to guarding people in the low post. He went by Garfield like he needed a hat on.
Second foul on Smith.
You catch a cold sometime when a man goes by you that quickly.
Leitner on top. He can hit from out there, too, keep in mind.
Nice pass.
Into Hill. Grant Hill.
Oh, Grant used his shoulder nicely without drawing the charge on Smith. Just cleared out the opening for the shot.
A 12-point Duke lead. 18-6. Nice crossover dribble by Williams. Tried to get it down to Burns and stolen away again.
Burns didn't come to the pass.
Hurley leaves it over. Grant Hill, reverse layup. Who's going to get it? Duke ball. Ever dream of putting together the all-time ACC Dream Team? Stay tuned at halftime when True Value will tell you how. Billy and I will have our 2 cents worth as well. 11:55 to go first half. Thomas Hill for 3.
Hill does a nice job gathering himself. He was all set to shoot that jumper, had his feet perfectly positioned, and just was able to go right up in the air with it. Duke really in a commanding lead now.
They're up by 15, 21-6 with 11:48 remaining first half. We'll return after this from Pepsi. Trailing 21-6. Be sure to stay tuned at halftime for the Norwegian Cruise Line Trivia Contest. You could win a great cruise for 2. Right now, Duke's cruising against Maryland by 15 with 11:44 to go first half here at Cole Fieldhouse. Brad Nessler and Billy Packer with you.
Many people consider Davis one of the best defenders in the country, and Hurley just chased Davis out of the way and said, no, that's my man.
Hurley picks up the foul as Williams went to the hoop with it. Other ACC action, Virginia shocks number 19 Wake Forest. I guess when you play Virginia, it's never a shock when they beat somebody. And North Carolina Charlotte, 9-point win. Wake Forest has been rolling, though.
Well, they have been playing well, but one of the things about Virginia that impresses me, they went on a very, very difficult road swing. They're against some outstanding teams in tough places to play, and lost some games that people, they're kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
But with a young team that they have, blending with the veterans back from last year, I expect Virginia to be really in the thick of things in the ACC race.
Well, Virginia gave Duke enough to handle, actually, a 6-point loss. Hill got in trouble, got it ahead to Davis. Now it's 2-on-1, and showtime for Antonio Lang, who just checked in.
A great step through by Grant Hill against the double team that time. Just forced the ball through that trap.
Well, while Maryland's trying to do it all with one person, Duke has 10 assists and 10 field goals tonight. So teammates dishing off the teammates.
Good pass by McClinton.
Rodnax from the stripe. Well, they just can't get anything out of their offense.
We'll see what happened though. Bobby Hurley picks up his second foul down inside against Walt Williams. And yeah, I'm just waiting for Maryland to go ahead and change their strategy a little bit and get Williams down inside against him. You can see Hurley just outmanned down there. He tries to hold his ground, but he picks up his second foul. Now that hurts Duke two ways. Number one, taking away their key ball handler. And he'll stay in the ball game right now, but you know the third one early here in the first half gets him out of the game, and that helps you on both ends of the floor.
Early, and he's fouled.
Nobody came to meet the pass.
That one's on McClinton. That'll be his second.
And there's a case of teams playing man-to-man out of bounds. And not only do you not get a good attempt for a score against the man-to-man, you lose the ball on the toss.
Well, just what you talked about, Bobby Hurley going out as Marty Clark checks in. Clark may not play the point, though. It might be Graham Hill. Thomas Hill, baseline. Boy.
If they don't get down in the half-court set, we'll not have to find out who's playing the point.
9 for Thomas Hill.
But it will. I'm sure you're right, Brad. I think it will be Grant Hill playing that position because he stepped out now on Williams defensively.
Duke, 25-8. McClinton for 3. That helps. It's his first basket of the night. And only his 5th three-pointer of the season. Leitner on the run. We may not get to see a point guard. You're right. Leitner with 5. The lead is 16.
This is a great matchup here now. Grant Hill and Walt Williams. Two of the league's most gifted players. They're about the same size. You know what, Williams, I guess he's listed at 6'8". I think he's a little bit bigger than that. Because Grant Hill is 6'8".
And Williams has bulked up, they say, to 219. He's all arms and legs.
Again, they don't get much out of the out-of-bounds situation.
Williams desperately wanting a foul call, didn't get it.
Isn't it funny? With Hurley out of the game, now Williams playing the low post.
Another turnover by Maryland.
Oh, what a move.
Coast to coast for Grant Hill, but he's going to pick up the charge.
Great move, though. I would have a hard time believing that McClinton was able to get both feet planted after that bounce. Let's see right here. Yeah, he was there waiting on him.
He sure did.
He sure did. Excellent call and great defensive play. And here's what we anticipated. Moving McClinton to the backcourt, letting Walt Williams travel down inside low.
Kerwin, his first shot.
Oh, right in Cherokee Parks' face. Parks should feel right at home here. The last time he played in Washington, D.C., he was the MVP of the Cap Classic. Had something like 29 points, 14 rebounds, got 6 blocks.
The heralded freshman
has not really recovered as far as his game performance compared to the way he was playing at the outset of the season. Because I think he made his first 11 shots of the year, so hard to improve on that.
Got injured, missed a couple of games. Still trying to work back into shape. 27-13, Duke by 14.
You know, it seems in time, though, their best lineup will include Parks in the starting lineup and then be able to come with Davis off the bench with all his experience and plus his versatility to play so many different positions.
They could end up with 11 different starting lineups like they had last year and still beat most people. 10 on the shot clock.
There's that 1-4 set. Grant Hill out there trying to take his man one-on-one.
Does and misses the jumper, and Williams had a hold of the rebound and does come out of there with it. Ahead to Smith. Got double teamed. And he's fouled on the baseline. That was supposed to be in a jump ball.
You can see a little bit of discontent there with the Duke players as to what they're trying to do offensively. With Hurley out of the game, they don't have that same leadership in the 1-4 set.
Don't forget more ACC basketball tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Clemson taking on the Tar Heels of North Carolina. And Chapel Hill has not been a friendly place to Clemson over the years.
No, it has not. Of course, it was nice to Florida State, so maybe something can change. But watching North Carolina play the last 2 ball games, I don't know if I've ever seen a Dean Smith team as a team play any better defensively than they did against Purdue the other night. Just a great execution on the part of everybody that came off the bench. I mean, they just did not allow a good shot on the part of their opponent.
You think that Florida State game was a good wake-up call for them?
Well, I think Florida State presents a problem for North Carolina, maybe more so than in the case of Purdue, and that is they have a great deal of quickness. And if North Carolina lacks anything as a team unit, it would be just pure out-and-out quickness.
Smith missed both free throws. Whistle down low. It's like Kerwin's going to be caught with the shove inside.
Gary Williams trying to put on a coach's referee clinic as to what you can or cannot do in the low post. Now you can see Parks is getting position, Kerwin trying to fight over the top. And the old swim move where you come over the swim stroke coming over the top just does not fly in college basketball this year, because it's one of the points that the officials have to watch this year, and of course they're calling it all the time, so no sense trying it.
It's great if you play for the Redskins and you're rushing the passer, but it doesn't work very well in college hoops. Parks' first point of the night.
It's a point of emphasis this year, and you know, players, coaches as well, have to realize whenever it's a point of emphasis, even though it's not going to be a new rule, but something that people should be aware of, just expect them to call that more than anything else on the floor, at least early in the season.
16-point Duke lead again. Burns lobs stolen by Lang. That just wasn't there. Hurley's going to take it off the dribble.
Good rebound.
McClinton strongly passed to Williams all alone.
Now that really was Bobby Hurley's fault. He had to realize after he took that shot, he was at the top of the key. There were 9 men ahead of him, and he allowed Williams to run right past him when he came down from the shot.
Duke has no trouble with Maryland's full-court pressure, and Davis will bring it out on top to Hurley. We approach the 8-minute mark. And a foul lead. This one goes on Parks.
Used his hands. The play was there. All he had to do is keep his body. Not Kerwin, but he didn't do it.
Mike Krzyzewski and Gary Williams all getting their licks in. There's a turnover situation. Maryland already in double figures.
Curly Crush transfer from ODU.
3-point.
Yeah, beautiful looking shot, wasn't it?
Yep. Squared up and nailed it.
Boy, Duke really attacking the press. Oh!
Davis tried a running slam and missed it. Laettner keeps it alive.
Davis really aggressive offensively. Took that jumper right at the start of the game, and he made up his mind to go dunk that shot from about 20 feet out.
As close as Maryland's been in a while. Still an 11-point Duke lead. Thomas Hill for 3. Boy, when he gets hot, you just got to look out.
Well, the key to that was the fact that anytime the ball comes in from one side of the court to the low post, you know that the man that's most open is the man opposite from where it came, and that's what Christian Laettner spotted and hit a man wide open.
Thomas Hill's hit his last 5 shots, leads all scorers with 12. McClinton buries one on the other end.
You notice now that Maryland coming back, they're doing a lot better with McClinton out front, doing Walt Williams some room to operate inside.
Early to Parks.
That ball could have been called goaltending. It was on the rim, and Burns got a piece. Of course, Gary Williams wanted traveling. Pretty good catch here by Parks. Let's see if his... Nope, he held his ground with that foot. I think that could have been goaltending. That ball was right up on that rim. Burns grabbed a hold of it.
Parks back to the free throw line where he hit his first 2, make it 3 straight. His best game of the year in the opener against East Carolina. He started for Christian Laettner, who was out with a bad foot, and ended with 16 points and 8 rebounds. Boy, Brian Davis almost tipped that thing back in. Duke by 13 with 6:45 to go first half.
Well, how many guys does Duke have that can go out and guard Williams? I mean, Thomas Hill is set for it. Davis is set for it. Hurley tried. Grant Hill could probably get a good attempt at it.
Irwin got a gift of a rebound on the baseline. Nice ball movement that time by Maryland, but they can't finish it off. They can't hit from the outside. It's something we talked about before the game ever started.
Thomas Hill hurt himself a little bit here. He's really kind of gimpy coming down court. Oh, it was a walk.
I don't think Christian will argue with that one. You're right. There's Hill slowing down near midcourt.
Kerwin wants to believe that it was a walk, because if it wasn't, he said, boy, how did I get faked out that badly? He was still standing there.
One Hill goes out, another will come in. Grant Hill in, Thomas Hill will sit down as he limps to the bench. Right now Duke with Leitner, Lang, Grant Hill, Davis, and Hurley. And Maryland for the most part plays their starters, although they do have Matt Downing in right now. He's the only guy that didn't start the ball game. Williams way outside. Lang lost the handle on the rebound, but picked up by Grant Hill. Here comes Duke. Hurley kicks it out. Brian Davis, that's one of his favorite spots.
Oh, what a rebound.
Is he up there or what? Couldn't control it, but he definitely got some height on it.
In regard to build and size, Lang and Grant Hill and Davis, they're so much alike in terms of their athleticism. Boy, Lang really went up that time. Nice ball fake.
Williams trying to get it inside to Broadnax, stolen away. Another Maryland turnover. Here comes Duke. And that one's close. They'll call it on Burns, and that'll be 3 on him. And now Gary Williams just about has to go to that bench, however short it may be, as he turns around and has a look. And Kerwin's going to come off the bench.
You see the play. Hurley realizing Lang coming from his right side. Boy, Burns was there. I really think the call was a charge as opposed to a block. Burns had himself fairly well planted.
And Burns more than likely will stay there with that towel for the next 5 minutes and 34 seconds. Williams sits down as well.
You know, one of the things you look for teams that are power clubs is that they go to the foul line a lot. And one of the all-time great stats is if you can make more than your opponent shoots. And in the case of Duke this year, they've made 219 free throws coming into the game. Their opponents have only shot 134. And that's some stat. With 100 more made than the other guy even shoots.
Now Clinton, he's doing a pretty good job offensively. He's got 7. 12-point Duke lead. And it's Downing out on Hurley now.
Not too bad a spot if you're Maryland, considering where you were at the start of this game. It was a 21-6 at one point. So they have come back, and they've come back playing aggressive man-to-man. They didn't do as well in the zone.
Got a double team Leitner, and Smith got a piece of that. Got a shot in the chops for his efforts, but he got the steal, and now he'll take the 3 on the other end. Look out. Good hustle by Broadnax, but he can't keep it in play.
You know, I watched Broadnax in the layup drills, and you wonder how's this guy a walk-on? How does he fit in and do as well as he has in the ACC? He really has an explosive step or two, and very powerful. You see a good dump to Leitner, weak side help, and then a great job on the inside on that block.
That was Smith that blocked it.
Nasty catch.
Duke almost turned it over, but Hill regains it.
And what Lang is mentioning to Davis is throw that thing up in the air. 2 tough passes to catch. You can't expect a man to catch a rifle shot coming at you from 3 feet. Nice soft lob would have worked.
Kerwin looked surprised to get the pass. Got it right back to McClinton. Good drive, but got too far underneath.
Yeah, he expected Leitner to block that shot.
3 on 2. Davis with a charge. Davis got way up, couldn't control himself, and a nice job by Downing of holding his ground.
You see a little inconsistency here as to what is a charge and what is a block. Now Davis goes up without question. He's charging on that play.
Davis picks up his 2nd.
Now Walt Williams down under the basket, Clinton out at the top.
We're at at the 4-minute mark. Maryland trying to cut the Duke lead to 10, and Broadnax is fouled on the baseline by Lang.
There's a case of Lang blocking the ball with one hand but pushing off with the other. I mean, he's much superior in size to Broadnax. He just has to hold his ground and play solid defense as opposed to trying to play spectacular defense.
Lang, just a sophomore, but he was a big part off the bench last year for Duke. Maryland with 4 of its starting 5 out there, Kerwin being the exception, as Burns is on the bench with 3 fouls. Broadnax and what he's done on the season. His first point of the night. He led Maryland in scoring last year in the second game against Duke at 18 points in that one.
The only starter averaging in the double figures of these 30-minute men that they have.
Well, they hit them both. And Maryland's within 10. That's not bad. With 3:58 to go in the half. We'll be back after this from our good friends at Budweiser. Last year, the big win. Here's how the field goal shooting's gone so far in this one. Duke's gotten cold and Maryland's warmed up finally.
Well, you know, the key there is at basically the 10-minute mark, McClinton moved to the back, took over the main ball handling responsibilities. That put Walt Williams down inside, and it just made this offense much better structured. They stay in that 1-3-1 trap, coming out pretty good. Somebody needs to break to that foul line. Duke would have had Leitner inside.
Grant Hill works, held blocked by Kerwin. And that's got the crowd into it a little bit.
Oh, does Gary Williams work a sideline to get everybody fired up? I mean, he's got every guy in that bench playing even though they're not on the floor. Good block by Kerwin, good timing. When you try to make a move against a team that'll give weak side defensive help that far from the basket, you have to assume that even when you make a good move by the first man, there's going to be a defender waiting on you, and look for the pass.
Thomas Hill back in after resting that leg that he injured slightly earlier. Hurley, 3-pointer.
One away.
Bobby Hurley's 3-pointers look kind of like Billy Kilmer's passes used to me, but same thing, yeah.
And you know, he's had some stretches in given games where he just doesn't make any, and then all of a sudden it comes down to crunch time and he'll drill one.
He was 5 out of 8 against Maryland last year in the 3-point range for his career-high 26 points.
And there's Duke in a 2-3 zone.
Clinton for 3.
Yeah, he throws up a pretty good knuckleball himself.
Oh. Kerwin got the rebound, though. That's about 3 offensive rebounds by Kerwin, and Broadnax makes it pay. Maryland will hustle. They almost got a steal.
Break for Duke.
And Maryland will come up with a steal down court.
Walt Williams had that ball picked up, and if he had it, he goes in for a score on the other end.
Smith walked with it. That's a good call.
Yep. Well, if you're Gary Williams, you know you don't want Smith handling that ball in the open court like that. You'd like him downside and it's a primary or secondary rebounder.
37-26, Duke by 11.
Good job by Kerwin.
Nice hustle.
Because Davis catches that one. He's all alone for a layup.
And we almost had a Chris Kerwin collision right over here at our broadcast site.
Kerwin's played a good ball game so far off the bench. Real positive minutes.
Leitner.
Boy, really good double and triple team on the inside.
Back-to-back turnovers by Duke. Williams ahead. And a great block. Oh! Somehow the follow by Williams went in.
Well, now, that should not count.
Somebody held on the rim.
Well, Williams held on the rim and pulled the rim down. And then the ball popped back in there. But it does count anyway.
And it's all of a sudden Duke's lead cut to 9. And listen to this place.
Maryland tough in the man-to-man. They just have not given Leitner much in the man-to-man.
And they threw it over him again.
Yep. Oh, they're going to call a foul here, and Gary Williams will go through the ceiling. Mike looks like a monument. Gary a pogo on a pogo stick. We'll see this play now. Here's where Williams dishes off. The layup goes up. Williams now will pull the rim down, and then see hanging on the rim, taps it back in. Sorry, fans, you can't do that.
That's a great shot if you're playing horse with somebody.
Right. In a way, a number of years ago on Super Bowl Sunday, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks, I remember David Thompson catching one over the back of his head, putting it back up to win a game against Maryland on one of the real classic ACC matchups of the past, but he wasn't hanging on to the rim like Walt Williams was.
Leitner's hit his last two after missing his opening free throw of the night.
Holds the all-time NCAA final championship record with 12 for 12 that he had against Kansas last year. Let's assume that'll stand for a while.
11-point Duke lead. As you see, we approach the 1.5-minute mark, first half.
They're surrounding the zone. Well, Broadnack's taking a bad shot there. You know, the little half hook.
Just when Maryland needed a good shot, they got a bad one. Hurley kicks it out. Thomas Hill. On the shot clock.
Good solid screen by Leitner. A little pick and roll, but Broadnax does a great job picking up.
Right back into Leitner. They double him, and he kicks it to Thomas Hill. He'll take it outside instead. I think that's his first shot outside. Lang, no. Followed by Thomas Hill. That leg doesn't hurt too bad. He's got 14.
I think he just cramped up a little bit, Brad, down there. They were working on his calf.
High as these guys jump, I would think all of them would cramp up. It's a 13-point Duke lead, and Maryland will have the last shot.
What a feed. Broadnax has hurt them by taking shots right now that they need to use the clock some. Well, they had it down to 9. Now Duke has an opportunity to go in with a 15-point lead. Maryland could have been working on a 9 with the ball. Bad shot probably hurts you more than anything in basketball.
Under 10 seconds right now.
And here's Bobby Hurley's classic situation in a 1-4. Tough to handle there.
Takes the jumper.
Oh, look at Lang again staying up in the air.
Collision at the buzzer, and Duke can't capitalize on the final possession, but as Billy mentioned, the Terrapins were looking like they could keep it in single digits at halftime. They don't. End of the first half. The Duke Blue Devils lead the Terrapins 41-28.
Tonight's ACC action is brought to you by Norwegian Cruise Line, Nationwide Insurance, Food Lion, AT&T, and by Lincoln Mercury.
Long before Scottie Pippen was chosen for the USA basketball team.
Hey, Pippen, Mike.
We know how hard you...
Maryland made a nice run, but at intermission, Duke with a 41-28 halftime lead. Did you ever dream of putting together the 5 greatest players in the history of ACC basketball? Well, here's your chance as True Value sponsoring the ACC Dream Team. This is something new. We start tonight. We'll take it through the season. Each week, we'll give you an opportunity to vote for a different position. This week, pick the greatest center in ACC history. Here's how.
True Value presents the ACC Dream Team. Your chance to select your all-time All-ACC team. Who would you pick as the greatest center in the history of ACC basketball? Call now, 1-900-884-6-ACC, and make your selection just 99 cents per call. Every 75th caller will receive a free Dream Team video. Call now and realize your dream by picking the league's greatest center. Dial 1-900-884-6-ACC. That's 1-900-884-6222. Just 99 cents per call. Make your dream come true. Call now and be a part of True Value's ACC Dream Team.
As we saw there, as they rolled the names by, the second to the last one's our colleague Len Elmore. He's waiting for a vote, I'm sure, somewhere tonight, Lenny. But, Billy, let's pick the, how about your pick, greatest ACC center?
Well, they gave us a hint of a lot of them in there, but one of the fellows that was featured, I think, at the first shot that I would have to take, and having seen, I guess, all of them other than Dickie Hemrick of the great ones. I never saw Dickie play in person. I would have to go with Ralph Sampson as the greatest center that ever played in the league if you were starting a team from scratch. And I'm talking about strictly of what he did during his time at the University of Virginia.
You know, that is kind of overlooked sometimes because he has not had a great pro career, and now he's in Spain, I guess, or whatever. But as a college player, hey.
He was the NBA Rookie of the Year, you know, and until he was injured, without question, his pro career was moving in pretty decent shape.
All right, get your vote in tonight, folks, and throughout the season for our new Dream Team feature. Halftime here at Cole Fieldhouse. It's 41-28, Duke in front of Maryland. And we'll return after these messages from the Atlantic Coast Conference.
From the preservation of our forests to the conservation of the plants and animals that inhabit them, environmental issues have a long history at Duke University. For decades, Duke students and researchers have worked in an outstanding academic climate to answer some of the world's most urgent problems, like the destruction of tropical plants used for medicine, or adapting to the damage caused by ozone and acid rain. Finding answers for the future. Duke University. This message presented by the Atlantic Coast Conference.
I have never met a football player who could not do what he wanted academically if he made up his mind to do it.
ACC football, an opportunity to excel.
I was a football player, and I applied myself, and I believe I owe everything I have today to the opportunity was given to me by Maryland.
This message presented by the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Well, in this game, Duke trailed for the first 21 seconds and then took over and ran it out to a 17-point lead at one stage of the first half, 25-8. Maryland made a nice run, though, and came back a bit closer at halftime. At intermission right now, it is Duke leading Maryland by a score of 41-28. And we'll be back with more of our halftime activities after this word from our good friends at Bud Light. Time now to take a look at our Budweiser scoreboard for tonight. Let's look at some other ACC action around the conference this evening. In Virginia over 19th ranked Wake Forest. 58-53, good win for the Cavaliers. Georgia Tech, a 14-point lead against North Carolina State. Tech trying to go to 12-2 on the season. Fourth-ranked Kansas at halftime all over Wichita State. Missouri, that's a little bit of a surprise, huh?
Yeah, that's at Memphis State. Could be Missouri's first loss of the year.
And there's a SEC battle.
That's a shocker there. Arkansas, one of the teams I think can get to the Final Four, but Alabama has shown already this year with 2 wins over ACC teams that they can play.
Those two scored off in the East Regional last year. Second half in that Alabama-Arkansas game, and North Carolina-Charlotte a winner over Virginia Tech, 62-53 tonight. And with a couple minutes to go, West Virginia trying to upset UMass and look like they could possibly do it, 70-66. Our score at halftime, the Blue Devils of Duke, #1 team in the country, and 8-0 coming into this one, leading the Maryland Terrapins 41-28 is our halftime score. Time now to take a look at our ACC Scholar Athlete for this week, and Greg White of Georgia Tech. Building construction major, great kid, 3.3 GPA, and a big part of Bobby Kremen's Yellow Jackets. He's our Nationwide Insurance ACC Scholar Athlete. Our congratulations to Greg White of Georgia Tech, who's in action tonight against North Carolina State. Halftime at Cole Fieldhouse with Duke leading the Maryland Terrapins 41-28. Atlantic Coast Conference basketball on Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports Network will continue after these messages from your local ACC station. Back at Cole Fieldhouse, a 13-point Duke lead over Maryland. And right now, time for this week's Norwegian Cruise Line ACC Trivia Contest. Here's your question for tonight. What school won the first 3 ACC titles in 54, 55, and 1956? Write your answer on a postcard along with your name and phone number and mail it to ACC Trivia Contest, P.O. Box 33367, Charlotte, North Carolina 28233. A winner will be drawn at random from all correct answers received by January 17th and will be awarded an exciting cruise for 2 on Norwegian Cruise Line. We'll be announcing the name of our lucky winners and the correct answers to the questions beginning next weekend. My colleague Billy Packer would know more about the mid-50s than I would, but we won't get into that.
You know, I want to say something about that. The fact that one team won all of those, coached by a single individual, is the reason this league became so tough. Because I think if it had been spread around early on, nobody would have really got into it like they did. But when they were being dominated by one team early on, other people said, hey, we can get a winning ball club too, and that's what really got the league moving.
Well, get your answer in, folks. Talking about dominating, that's what Duke did to Maryland in the first half of this game. At one point led by 17. Maryland made that nice run, but the last couple minutes of the half really didn't help them, did it?
And it was not physical, it was mental that took them out of the ball game there, Brad. You know, they'd taken the wrong shot by the wrong guy. I thought Grodniks took 2 shots that were somewhat ill-advised because you have the clock working in your favor. You're at home. Let Walt Williams touch the ball some going down the stretch and try to keep that thing in single digits.
All right, let's take a look at some of the action from the first half as we take a look at our Pepsi game summary. In this one, Thomas Hill is the leading scorer in the ball game right now with 14 points. Let's watch him go to work.
Well, here was Hill, as we talked about him, squaring up beautifully without using the dribble, had his feet set perfectly to go ahead and launch that shot. Hit it without any problem to spare at all. Walt Williams struggled early and then finally got into the offense a little bit. He has 13 at halftime. Well, here's the way to get into the offense, and that is to go up, miss a shot, and then say, wait a second, let me grab the rim and hang on to it and try this again. And when he does, on the second attempt, it goes in. And also for Maryland, McClinton's hustled well on both ends of the court. Well, and I really think the key to bringing Maryland back in the ball game is when McClinton came back to the top of the key and started to handle the ball to loosen up Williams a little bit. Well, Bobby Hurley had 2 fouls at one point and actually had to sit down. Is that what Maryland's going to have to do, try to get him in a little bit of foul trouble? Well, I think they want to get back to the guys that can score for them, taking the shots at the right time. They're doing a great job defensively, particularly in the low post against Christian Laettner, getting a lot of good weak side help. They have to continue that, but I think it's got to be a matter of getting the ball in Williams' hands a little more. All right, we'll see if Maryland can make a run early in the second half. Here at intermission, they trail by 13.
Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports exclusive coverage of ACC basketball is brought to you by Buick, Gillette, Central Fidelity, and by Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company.
Halftime at Cole Fieldhouse, and it's 41-28 intermission. Stay tuned for the Nations Bank Players of the Game Award. Nations Bank will contribute $1,000 to the Atlantic Coast Conference to be distributed among the member institutions under a conference-approved plan. That's the Nations Bank Players of the Game to be awarded near the end of our broadcast. Brad Nessler and Billy Packer with you from College Park, Maryland, where the Terps trail by 13. Well, you can add 3 more onto that as Thomas Hill picks right up where he left off in the first half. Well, that's 17 with 19:49 to go here in the second half. Surprising stat in that first half. Walt Williams, 7 turnovers. Let's try 8. No assists and 8 turnovers. Speaking of stats, that's about what Duke shoots on the year. Our US Air halftime statistics have Duke at 56. And there's Maryland under that 40 mark again. You just can't be there. Well, that was a good dish by Thomas Hill. Catches the ball by going way up in the air and then dishes off. Probably a decent foul by Walt Williams because Duke was off and running here for a layup. Goes up. There's Hill getting rid of the ball even before he came down. Nice, and it's another great play. And Christian Laettner walked with it. Probably what Laettner was anticipating there is Davis breaking hard off the backside there to make the pass. And he kind of stopped. And he stopped, sure. Sometimes the recipient can make the passer turn it over. Smith outside. Got his own rebound. How many times will he try it? He had 3 shots and didn't get it. Grodniks throws up a prayer. And that 39% would look pretty good right now because Maryland missed 4 shots in a row. How about Grant Hill on the way down, gets the dribble alive so he can make the pass off. Not too smooth for a sophomore, huh? His father, as usual, here again tonight. Laettner. Another father of Duke background here tonight. Danny Ferry's dad, Bob, of course, lives outside of the College Park area here, but he's here tonight, obviously. So's Danny. Danny is too. Danny is too. Yeah, the Cavs play tomorrow night here against the Bullets, and he is try to spot him. He's sitting over here behind us someplace. Well, we have one of the great all-time Duke players here then, and one of the great all-time Maryland players, Congressman Mr. Tom McMillan. He looks good, doesn't he? Yeah. Looks like he can play now. Actually, he looks a little trimmer than when he played. Hill ahead to Hill. Quick to Thomas. Good cross-court passing by Duke against this the zone traps and any kind of pressure they've seen. There's a solid screen by Laettner. Hill almost turned that ball over.
Well, he kept the hand on top of the dribble. Looked strange, but it was legal.
It looks like Duke took a big collective deep breath at halftime because they have definitely been in rhythm since they came out of the locker room.
Well, they're staying right with their offense. You know, they're not trying to blow this thing open with bad shots.
A 10-0 Duke run since the end of last half. Hurley missed the jumper outside, and Clinton keeps it alive. Ahead to Williams. And Williams, long jumper won't go.
See, there's the difference. The team, Christian limping a little bit on that last rebound. Like he hurt his leg a little bit, but we know he missed a game here at the start of the season. A little problem with his foot. Hurt that arch against the Soviet team. But one of the things that we talked about, Duke staying within their offense, trying to get a good shot so that everybody in position to rebound, and then Walt Williams comes down and takes a shot that nobody could have anticipated. So Maryland has to be much better on their selection.
Maryland is 0 for the second half, which is now 2 minutes and 5 seconds old.
Well, and one of the reasons, not only the fact that you're not hitting, but when you get your percentage down, a lot of it is shot selection as opposed to the technique of the shot itself. And Maryland's shot selection has been questionable on a number of occasions tonight. There's Duke back with that box and one.
Clinton out on Hurley, who tried to feed in low to Hill, and in doing so, Broadnax picks up the foul. That'll be his first.
Well, a tough foul on Broadnax. Not having a big game here tonight, but really he has done everything you could ask of a guy his size playing in this league, and almost each and every night having to go up against somebody about 3 to 4 inches taller.
And he usually draws the opponent's best offensive player.
Yep.
Hurley hooks it back out to Hill. Wide opens Davis. Doesn't take it. Works for a 15-footer and doesn't get that.
Leitner, nice job by Leitner keeping the ball alive.
And Grant Hill cleans up as Leitner made a path for him. 21-point Duke lead.
Well, you get that ball on the offensive boards, and if you can keep it alive, at least you've got some kind of chance.
Williams.
11. That's his 9th turnover.
And on the other end, Duke just running away with it.
And Gary Williams having to put a stop to it just as he did in the first half by using a timeout.
Not quite 3 minutes into the second half, and right now it is all Duke. Here's Danny Ferry on your right, Mark Allery on the left, and Mickey Krzyzewski down there with the glasses on in row 1, and that is Mike's daughter Debbie in the pink sweater sitting to her right.
Well, I don't know who the girl is in the middle but she's got good taste.
A couple millionaires, I know that.
Exactly. 2 pretty good-looking fellas that got plenty of money.
A couple of former Duke stars who will square off against each other tomorrow night as the Bullets take on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Maybe she's his sister. Going to be taken care of at Christmas.
We'll hear about it, whoever it was now. And Duke comes up with the ball again. Hurley to Hill to Davis. Clockwork, except he missed the shot in low.
There again, keeping the ball alive. You at least have a chance, and it slows down a fast break, too, if you can keep the ball alive on your offensive boards. The other team can't get off and running with a clean rebound.
Maryland 0 for 5 in field goals this half. That is not shooting enough and obviously not shooting well.
Again, I'm surprised. Oh, there's a charge.
Oh, they're calling on Davis.
Wow. Officials had 2 different opinions on that play. One official going for the charge, the other going for the block. First signal, however. Now, why was that a foul on Davis? Explain that one to me. Looked to me like he had pretty good position. There's some inconsistency on that call tonight. We mentioned that in the first half.
Yeah, the charge has been a tough one tonight.
Yeah, good block.
Lang got a piece of it. Davis clears it ahead to Hurley. Great pass to Grant Hill. And he's fouled by Williams.
Some hands on that catch. You know, Smith is really having problems. You can see tonight that he's a little bit out of his class in terms of the quality of his ability to play the game. And here's that catch. Really something, and you can see Walt Williams just gets a piece of the arm, taking away an easy basket.
Christian Leitner goes out favoring, it appeared, that foot. Gave him some trouble early in the season. We're not quite sure, but he's going to get a breather.
You know, we haven't seen Cherokee Parks back in the ball game in quite some time. He's still really struggling a little bit in regard to his game.
Grant Hill misses his first free throw attempt of the night. 74% on the season. Just about everybody shoots, it seems, 75% or better on this Duke team from the line. He missed them both. Burns cleared it off.
You know, a lot of those scores that you went over, Brad, at halftime are home team wins. You know, in college basketball, as much parity as it is to come up and get wins on the road are really a key.
Maryland took almost 4 minutes to get their first field goal in the second half. They trail by 21.
There's again a charge block situation and a no call.
Thomas Hill finally missed a shot. He'd hit 8 straight. Got his own rebound and got fouled.
And Thomas can't believe he missed that first one. Anticipate a little bit more body contact, put it up hard. But Thomas, you know, you talk about all the high school All-Americans that are recruited into the game. And Thomas Hill, you know, when he was signed, nobody got all excited about, you know, his ability coming to Duke. There you see Georgia Tech with a big win again. That's a team to be reckoned with from your hometown.
They're a little bit better, I guess, than I think a lot of people thought they'd be.
Well, they're so much deeper than any Bobby Crimmins team in a number of years. And, you know, everybody thought with the loss of Kenny Anderson. But I like this team a lot better than last year's team. Matter of fact, I like this team as much as any team they've had down there going back to the Mark Price years.
I told Billy McCoy, our director, before the game that Bobby Crimmins was using 8 and 9 guys. And he said, does he remember their names? Crimmins is used to 5, 6 guys out there.
Yeah, he'll use the old Al McGuire technique, get nicknames for him and just, you know, call them out there, baggy pants, or, you know, whatever he wants to call them. Boy, you know, Mike Krzyzewski must be wondering what's going on here. His team is missing some free throws. You know, he's so used to them just going ahead and standing up at that foul line and draining 33 of 35 and things of that nature that to miss some free throws, changing things.
Now they're 7 out of 14, but they still lead by 21. Williams, he's pushing it a little bit right now.
He is, but that's where I like him in that offense, coming out at the foul line and taking a shot.
Did a nice job getting back on defense, and he feels that Brian Davis touched it last, and I think he might have an argument.
And so does Brian Davis, because he's walking all the way over here by us to stay out of the controversy.
Brian looks like the most innocent guy with it.
Oh, they changed the call. Changed the call. And Brian is going down the other end. He's not saying anything about it. He knows he touched it.
Mike Krzyzewski has said something about it.
And what Mike is concerned about is the man that changed the call was the farthest from the play of any of the 3 officials.
Nice catch on the baseline by Kerwin. That pass was a little too far in front of him.
You know, with a 21-point lead, I see Duke losing a little bit of their focus right now. You know, I mean, you'd say, well, so what? You know, you're up 21 points. But one of the things that you want to be able to do here, and I know if you're Mike Krzyzewski, you want to pretend that this game is 0-0. You got 15 to go, or it's tied 51, and try to bury the guy again for the 3rd time in the game.
Williams goes up with a left hand.
Having a rough night, isn't he?
Sure is. And a foul in the paint, I think it'll be on Kerwin.
Leitner raising his hand. Oh, no, he didn't. He raised his hand to signify, I guess, that he was fouled.
Don't forget the number again to vote for the True Value ACC Dream Team. 1-900-884-6222. 1-800-884-6ACC. Write that one down. Use it all year.
And that's what I was talking about right there. You know, Duke never throws the ball away on an inbounds pass like that. Nobody coming to meet the ball. Just losing a little of their concentration here.
Finally, Maryland gets something inside from Garfield Smith. That's his first basket.
Maryland had one game last year. They came back from 17 down. They're down 19 right now. A lot more to ask.
And Leitner threw it away.
Yep. It wouldn't be a bad time for Mike Krzyzewski to call a timeout right now. He's screaming at his guys, say, hey, just run the basic offense.
Maryland forces about 24 turnovers a game, but these last couple by Duke have been unforced errors.
Yep, they've just lost their concentration.
And they're going to call a foul on Davis. Trying to stay close to Smith. Now that's 4 on Brian Davis.
You know, and one of the things that you can do, Brad, and one of the best things to do as a coach when a team starts to do this is to force your team to run your offense. In other words, multiple passes before you look for the shot, getting everybody back into the swing, because you have a tendency with this kind of lead to just take the first good thing that comes along, and everybody gets kind of out of sync.
Maryland barely got it in before the 5-second count. They trail 51-32. 14 and a half minutes to go in the game. Smith works around Davis with those 4 fouls. He can get a shot off and does.
Now this is critical this time down the floor for Duke to get something inside off the offense. They've got Lang in the game.
Duke's only about 1 turnover, and Maryland's only about 1 basket from having this crowd back into it, too.
That's not the shot. That is not the shot.
Burns the rebound. Thomas Hill picks up the foul.
That's not what Mike Krzyzewski wanted at all. Let's see if Hurley comes out on that play.
Marty Clark coming in. Thomas Hill will sit down.
Well, you know, that's a little payback. You remember how Bobby Hurley, early in his career, used to, he's right, used to complain, and Mike had to ride him. Now Hurley is playing all basketball. He hardly ever does anything like that anymore. There's a good shot by Williams, and so Mike, rewarded him there. He takes a bad shot, but instead of benching him right away and creating that conflict, lets him stay in the game.
Maryland trying to somehow stay in the game, and that three-pointer helped. It's a 14-point ball game. Remember, it was 21 just moments ago. Lob underneath, steal by Kerwin.
I don't think I've seen Duke go a stretch playing this poorly in their decision process that they've played in the last 3 or 4 minutes.
Maryland on a 9-0 run, and Hurley picks up. Oh, wait a minute.
There's Gary getting a technical. What a bad technical here. Not only that, you had one official ready to call a foul, the other saying it was a 5-second count. Gary obviously wanting the foul call. Now he really takes away a lot of momentum with this one. And this is the kind of situation, he's up screaming so much. The official said, okay, I've had enough. And this is a real tough time to get one.
Leitner having trouble from the free throw line, which never happens. It's the second time he's missed in 5 attempts tonight.
When you get it down to 14, think you're going to the foul line to get an opportunity to get it down even further.
Let's take another look at what Gary Williams was hoping was a foul.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep.
Clark, and he buries a three-pointer.
Young man with a lot of offensive skills. It's a matter of playing time for him.
His 7th three-pointer of the year, and it puts Duke back in front by 18.
Oh, boy, what a turn of events here. Oh, boy, Gary gets it down, gets his team down to just 14. Duke is completely out of sync. Now he finds himself right back to 20-point margin.
Duke scored 6 points in 22 seconds.
Marty Clark doing a good job out there on both ends of the floor. Nice play on defense and hits the 3.
For Duke, it's Leitner, Hurley, Grant Hill, Marty Clark, Antonio Lang.
Dangerous pass there. A bouncer underneath the other team's basket. I mean, you just don't want to do that.
Grant Hill now at the point.
And, when you think of the depth of the recruitment on Duke's team, Clark was a McDonald's All-American. I mean, we're not talking about bringing a guy off the bench just having to walk on and like to wear a Blues uniform. That all adds up after a while. You keep getting those quality recruits, and your program becomes solid for years to come.
Success breeds success. That's certainly happened in 12 years for Krzyzewski. Clark got Smith in the air and Hook passed it over.
I thought there was a break there. Clark got fouled. Nice pass by Hurley.
Williams got a piece of it, and then the last touch by Antonio Lang on the baseline. 12:07 to go in the game. A 20-point Duke lead. Brad Nessler and Billy Packer with you in College Park, where Maryland had it down to 9 at one point late in the first half, and then Duke scored the final 4 points of the first half and came out breathing fire in the second half. And just when Maryland cut it to 14 a few moments ago, a technical by Gary Williams against Maryland didn't help the cause.
Could be a push on Kerwin.
That's a call. That'll be 4 on Kerwin.
Now Leitner was in perfect position for the rebound. Just that little subtle push in the back.
11:49 to go in the ball game. Duke leads by 20, and we'll be back to College Park after this from our good friends at Budweiser. McMillan. Tom McMillan. The hair's a little whiter, but the rest looks as young as it did back in the 70s.
He has a book coming out, of course, everybody knows, with the NCAA convention, President's Convention on right now. Tom McMillan has been one of the real driving forces, forcing the college presidents and all the people involved in administration to take a real hard look at what is going to be the direction of the future of intercollegiate athletics. Very outspoken on the issues.
Who knows, maybe someday he'll be the tallest president we ever had. Here's Parks. Nice job by Burns, who hasn't been in the ball game much because of early foul trouble, to keep Parks from hammering that one home.
And you're not referring to a college president. You're talking to a president.
Yeah, I'm talking about the whole deal.
That'd be 2 basketball players that have been talked in that vein.
Bill Bradley, the other. Williams off the glass.
Now, you know, why did it take so long for Maryland to get him down in the low post with Hurley on his back? He has a strange night right here. He's now got up to his That's his 18th point. See, Hurley can't handle him down in low. Picks up the cheap foul, but he has 9 assists. I mean, he has no assists and 9 turnovers on the night. Really strange for Walt Williams.
Here's Clark on the drive, trying to leave it over for Parks, and threw it away. Duke has gone through these stretches of back-to-back turnovers.
Well, there's a case of not getting the angle for the pass. You know, Clark went in there really not understanding what he was going to do once he got inside. Made a pass that just didn't make any sense.
Got his feet and arms ahead of his brain a little bit, and the turnover goes back to Maryland as they trail by 17. So a chance again to cut it down to 15 this trip, and still plenty of basketball left. 11:15 to go in the ball game. Lob underneath. Williams went way up for it.
Thomas still went right with him.
And Burns with a left hand. His first basket of this half. And all of a sudden it is a 15-point game again.
Boy, it's really amazing. Cherokee Parks is the leading shot blocker for Duke. And early on in the season, he was just so aggressive. Everything he did, everything was positive. You know, playing on emotion. Now he seems to be thinking every step of the way. And it's driven him back a little bit. That injury really stymied his success. Is that another turnover?
Yeah, it's off Walt Williams' foot. That's a good call, I think.
10 turnovers, no assists. And he's given a pretty good mouth here to the official. He better be careful. Maryland can ill afford another technical.
Especially on that guy. Grant Hill just gets it in time. Thomas Hill. He's going to pull up for a 10-footer.
Sometimes the toughest shot to make. Wide open.
Ricochet off Parks, comes to Hurley for 3. And right now, Bobby Hurley's the all-time 3-point shooter in Duke history, just past Bill Henderson with that one.
Young man, in time also will be the all-time career assist leader at Duke University. Already holds the single-season records in both his freshman and sophomore years.
Chasing Tommy Amaker, who's, of course, an assistant coach on the Duke bench. Tommy knew that one was going to fall, too. He keeps saying that. All my records are going by the boards.
Offensive foul on Thomas Hill, using that non-dribbling hand to push off.
62-42. Duke by 20.
Duke going back into the zone with Parks in the game here. Burns just laid a lick on Parks coming from the weak side. He'll feel that one even tomorrow.
Smith too hard. Weak side rebound is Hurley's, and he runs with it. Thomas Hill high off the glass.
Beautiful pull up. Under control.
21 for Thomas Hill. The season high is 26.
I would say the clock works against Maryland making another run, but what they've got to do now is just try to start playing solid here at home.
Certainly got the fan support. You couldn't get in this place tonight. Parks may have gotten away with a walk, but he got the basket.
Well, all of those kind of scores that eventually bring something positive to get him back on track. Krzyzewski able to get him some positive minutes here tonight, as he did with Marty Clark, who can be a valuable fellow on this team. You never know when you can have an injury or a guy not playing well in the course of the year when you're trying to make a run at defending your crown.
Leitner knocks that one away, and Hurley comes up with a loose ball. Leitner on the other end. Been kind of quiet on offense tonight.
There's Parks battling again.
Oh boy, he got hammered.
But that's what Mike Krzyzewski wants. You see Mike Krzyzewski telling Bobby Hurley to go in there and rally Parks. Tell him he's doing a good job. You see that? Exactly. What he's doing right here, they feel that Parks has gotten a little soft. So Krzyzewski telling Hurley to go in there and saying, that's the way we want you to battle, giving that positive support to a freshman, getting him back on track. This guy didn't become the coach that he is for nothing. Working it all the time. It's a nice move.
Wayne Bristol, a freshman guard, checks in. Walt Williams will get a rest. He hasn't had much of that tonight.
You know, and all of us in life like to be encouraged with positive reinforcement, and nothing helps more than being reinforced by your teammates. Say you work hard, you bust, you get hit, you get knocked to the ground. To have all your guys pull up and say, "Hey, way to go, Cherokee! You're back on track here." This makes you feel good.
And he's on track to be at his season average. That's his 8th point of the night, averaging 9, as you saw. Antonio Lang will check back in, and Parks will sit down. And he did a nice job while he was in there.
I'd say he's going to get more playing minutes before this game's over.
Burns, almost a steal by Hurley, and instead picks up the foul trying to recover.
Is that his 4th or 3rd?
That is...
He had 2 quick ones. That's his 4th.
4th foul on Hurley. Stay tuned for the Players of the Game Award at the end of the broadcast. Brought to you by Nations Bank.
And Kenny Blakely coming into the game, the DeMatha product, who has been really stymied in his career with knee problems. Very strong, confident young fella. Just having a hard time getting playing time behind Bobby Hurley.
Clinton with the free throw. He's got 10 points now in the night. It'll be a long ways back, though, for Maryland. They're still trailing by 22 with 8:49 to go.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. They made the good run. There's only so many of those you're going to make against a quality team. Duke lost some of their focus there for a couple of minutes.
And a foul in the backcourt. Either Broadnax or Burns picks that up.
And I don't know how far Maryland could have come back had it not been for that technical foul. You know, that run may have been ready to end anyway, but that sure changed the complexion completely of that the good run that they had made, coming from 21 down, getting it to 14 with the ball.
While Williams is going to check back in for Maryland, and Broadnax, who just picked up the foul, will sit down. And Duke goes back to the free throw line, where normally they're deadly, but as we said tonight, that hasn't been the case. Grant Hill 0 for 2, in fact, from the free throw line.
Which Hill and Williams and Leitner, all teammates last year on the Pan Am team, which Walt twice on the Pan Am games was the leading scorer for the American team.
Play a little forward in the Pan Am games too. Hill, 9 points, make it 10 now for Grant Hill, the 6'8" sophomore. And it's 69-46. Again, a 23-point lead. Williams outside, buries a 3.
He shows good range here, doesn't he?
22 points. Maryland normally wins when he goes 20 plus, but I don't think that's going to be the case tonight.
Coming off, he had a great game against Georgia Tech, even though they lost with the 28 points.
It was amazing. The Monday morning paper said Georgia Tech held Walt Williams to 28 points. Yeah.
Well, he had a solid game too, rebounding, assisted, everything down there. Your Thriller Dome that you so aptly named.
Well, I'll be down there on Tuesday night. Georgia Tech, Virginia. 8 minutes to play, a 20-point Duke lead.
Although it's early in the season, that's kind of a pivotal game for both of those teams. For Virginia now having a couple of good wins in a row, and then for Georgia Tech trying to continue. They've got to win those games at home if they're going to make a run for the championship, which they're capable of.
And not only does Virginia give Georgia Tech fits, they give them fits in Atlanta. Williams picked up his 4th foul there. And Thomas Hill's going to go to the free throw line.
Let's see if Hill can get the stroke going back for Duke, which is something that they, way out of sync tonight at 11 for 20. And we're talking about a team that shoots in the high 70s from that free throw line.
As you were talking about, you saw them against Michigan go 31 for 36.
Right.
They were 33 out of 35 in the ACC Big East Challenge against St. John's.
I mean, you see a lot of teams in college ball that don't have an individual shooting 78%. This team's shooting 78% from top to bottom.
22 for Thomas Hill. Leading Duke scorer. 7 rebounds to go with it. Hits them both. And we've got a timeout with 7 minutes, 53 seconds to go. It's 71-49 Duke. And we'll be back after this from our friends at Pepsi. Well, that'll don't know if Calvin Hill would like to stand in the paint and have his kid coming towards him, but on the other hand, I don't know if Grant Hill would like to stand in the way when that guy was carrying the football for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, that was part of, as he talks about, his decision to be a basketball player instead of a football player so he could establish his own identity. So his reasoning was a little bit more of a mental decision than what we give him credit for.
Calvin Hill now vice president with the Baltimore Orioles, so still very much in the world of sports, and his son had a career night the other night against Florida State. Had another good night tonight, although he's got only 10 points in this one. He had, I think, the first 4 assists for Duke at the start of this ball game.
Well, and one of the things that we talked about, Florida State going up and beating North Carolina without a key player, Edwards, playing in that particular ball game for them. But one of the things that Duke can do is they can offset that speed and quickness with some of their own, something that North Carolina does have problems with.
Williams missed the second, and the rebound to Antonio Lang. Here's Grant Hill.
One of the things Mike Krzyzewski would like out of Grant Hill is to take over some games. He thinks he's ready to step up now and be the kind of guy who just takes a basketball game over. He has not yet showed that. One of the reasons that he doesn't, of course, they have so many other weapons. You know, with Hurley having the ball an awful lot, and Leitner, of course, being a scorer, and the way that Thomas Hill is playing. Good back screen that time, but they can't get Walt Williams the ball.
Bristol drives and got it to go.
Moliner.
Well, the freshman who just played his high school ball right up the street here with his first basket of the night.
What Duke is doing right now against that press is getting the ball right in the center, and everything can happen there if you can get the ball in the center. Passing lanes really open up. Leitner's still really moving nicely for the ball.
Kerwin trying to hang with him, but he's got 4 fouls.
You know, but Kerwin has done a nice job with it, because, you know, he really doesn't have the big body, but he's done a nice job positioning himself defensively.
Thomas Hill throws up an air ball. That's about the only thing he's done wrong tonight. Hurley checks back in. So does Brian Davis. And Thomas Hill and Grant Hill will sit down. Bobby Hurley, he gets it everywhere he plays.
Well, I think people have to admire what he's done. That could be a 3. That's going to be 3-shot foul right here.
And that's going to be it for Bobby Hurley, too.
He got some short playing time there. About 0.8 of a second, came in, committed his 5th. And what caused his 5th was when he had to go down inside and guard Walt Williams. That one happened to be outside, but he picked up 3 quick ones in the first half.
And Bobby let Tim Higgins, one of the officials, know what he thought of the night's activities on the way to the bench. Walt Williams goes to the free throw line. Hurley leaves with 9 points and 6 assists, so he does get that record for 3-pointers. All his scoring came on 3-pointers tonight.
I mentioned Walt with us. He's had 20 points 8 times so far this year. The 28, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, only 2 turnovers in 34 minutes against Georgia Tech. So statistically, from a scoring standpoint, he's right back there, or up close to that again tonight. But he has had some kind of bad ball handling night with turnover assist ratio of 0 to 10.
If you just turned on your TV and saw Walt Williams take 3 free throws, this isn't the old NBA, but a 3-point shot, fouled in the act. He hit 2 of the 3. Grant Hill off the glass, Kerwin the rebound.
That's the shot that Grant Hill's got to start hitting.
Clinton works for a 15-footer and got it. A chance for a 3-point play.
Pretty good explosive first step by McClinton. Davis really disappointed with himself. He's a better defender than that.
He's gone too.
Yep. So there's a case, you know, a lot of times, although he committed the foul with his hands, he really committed the foul by the lack of moving his feet. He allowed McClinton get around him, and then, of course, he had to reach for the foul. So often you see that happen.
Brian Davis sits down with 6:10 to play as he's fouled out with only 4 points. He had a career night the other night against Florida State, too. 19 points and 9 rebounds. Mark Kennedy said after that game, you were talking just a minute ago about the quickness of Duke, and he said that's one thing he couldn't believe. He said they are so quick.
I think that, you know, when Davis faces quickness, he gets quick. There was a case where he was kind of asleep at the switch. There again, the ball in the center, creating the passing lanes, making it impossible to do anything on the press.
Thomas Hill, though, misses an easy one. Kerwin's got another rebound. 73-57. Sixth rebound for Kerwin. He's done a nice job off the bench as Maryland's tallest player at 6'10".
Williams walked, and that's 11 turnovers for Walt Williams. Boy, that'll throw that turnover assist ratio out the window.
And it just doesn't counteract the 25 points. Or I should say the 25 points doesn't counteract all those turnovers. Exactly.
Matter of fact, going into this game, Duke had 22 more assists than turnovers as a team. And Maryland had just the opposite, 22 more turnovers than assists. Now, that'll cost you, particularly when you're not a good shooting basketball team.
It's looked that way tonight, too.
Yep.
Leitner baseline. And Kerwin's got another rebound.
And he's going to see more playing time based on his performance tonight.
5:25 to play. Bristol not shy at all. Miss. Smith the rebound.
No block out on Smith.
Leitner may have gotten a piece of that. And Clark and Leitner.
A little discussion.
A little discussion going on. Approaching the 5-minute mark. Here's Leitner. Strong to the hoop. Foul on Williams, and that will do it for Walt Williams tonight.
Got caught on the inside. And one of the things that Leitner, of course, is so active down in the low post. Kerwin tries to fight over the top, doing a good job. And there's Walt Williams late getting there from the weak side. No question about the foul.
Now Walt Williams will have to leave with 25 points, 7 rebounds, no assists though. And as Billy has kept you abreast, he had a lot of turnovers tonight. And when he goes 20 points plus, which he has done 22 times in his career, Maryland was 18-4 in those 22 games coming into tonight. But that stat's going south a little bit on Maryland this evening with 5 minutes to play.
Well, you know the other thing about Walt Williams, and you've got to credit the young man. You know, he could have left Maryland, gone anywhere he wanted to go, because when they went on probation, he was not part of the probationary status. He had the right to pick any school, including an ACC school if he wanted to. He stayed here at Maryland. That was pointed out in an article about him this morning in USA Today. But you have to admire him in that respect. And another thing about it is that he's had an opportunity to play in the backcourt. You know, maybe if he'd have gone somewhere else, he'd have been moved up to a forward spot. I think it's going to help him at the next level that he goes to. And you know he's going to be a much more proficient passer when he has people to give the ball to that can score.
He said about that possible transfer and moving to a different position, he said, I didn't have time to start over. And the Maryland people have loved him for staying here. And he got a game ball before the game from Gary Williams. And it was for his 1,000th point, which he had 1176 coming into this.
Held ball situation, and Maryland gets the arrow and the ball back.
Gary must lose 10 pounds a game over there on the sideline.
He is a worker.
4:42 to play. 73-57 Duke. Duke's been scoreless the last 3 minutes, though.
Of course, Gary was a worker as a player at Maryland. Defense was the name of his game. He was not a good shooter from either the free throw line or the outside. Although he has a record in one game of hitting a bunch of free throws, he's one of those 30-point per game guys, kind of guy you lay off, you know. But always a great competitor.
73-59. All of a sudden, it's within striking distance if Duke just totally bottoms out here in the next 4 minutes. It's a 9-0 Maryland run. So credit them. They're giving it one more go. And they foul Thomas Hill.
But what it does at down this line is to put Duke on that foul line. And this is the place that they are so tough. Tonight, way under their normal average. Well, when they go to that foul line, it just keeps adding up. You know, you come down, you work hard on defense, and 4 minutes to go, and they come down and keep getting on that line.
Thomas Hill is 2 out of 3 from the line tonight. I bet you and I don't do another game where Christian Leitner misses 4 free throws.
No. Thomas, remember, hit that first basket coming out here the second half and had 19 with basically a full half to go.
Got 24 now, so he's approaching a season high with still 4 minutes to play.
And really could have had a 30-point game very easily. You know, he's missed a couple down inside that were very makeable.
16-point Duke lead. 4 minutes to play at Cole Fieldhouse. Brad Nessler and Billy Packer with you on this ACC matchup. Duke trying to go to 3-0 in the conference. Maryland trying to pull an upset, but they're on the short end and have been since early in the ball game.
And Duke will have 2 road games, assuming they win this, 2 road games under their belt with victories at Virginia and at Maryland, which there won't be many people in the conference win both of those.
Duke's also 2-0 against top 25 teams. Their closest or biggest scare, I guess, is the overtime win over Michigan, 88-85. Nobody else has pressed them that much. Virginia stayed with them, I guess, in the ACC game last week.
Yep, they were awesome, of course, against St. John's. That was one of their, one of those games where you really get up early and play extremely well. It looks, they then took a break after that Michigan game and disbanded as a team basically for 2 weeks. No practice, no anything. Mike Krzyzewski said, he could envision how this season was going to go and basically broke the season down into 3 different parts, totally separate of each other.
3:41 to play in this one. Duke leads 76-59. We'll be back after this from our friends at Bud Light.
If you're into looking good, get into Bud Light. The clean, fresh taste won't fill you up, never let you down.
You can taste it and feel it and know you got it right. Cause everything else is just a light. Everything else is just a light. Everything else is just a light. Everything else.
Here in the Food Line Meat Department.
Pardon me, Tom. This is a great-looking piece of beef.
I was just getting ready to tell the folks, Joe, at Food Line, we not only have top-quality beef, we have a butcher who will slice it for free.
You know, Tom, there's nothing better than a good steak and a Pepsi to go with it.
At Food Line, we carry top-quality USDA choice, heavy Western grain-fed beef, the kind you get in any fine restaurant.
Here you are, Mr. Theismann.
Thank you very much.
Want a sack, Joe?
Sack, Tom. Don't you ever say sack to a quarterback.
Sorry, Joe.
Would you ever think of doing this to your wall? Or this? Or even this? You probably wouldn't, but if you have kids, you know they might. That's why you need One and Only interior paint from Lowe's. With One and Only, stains like these wash clean away, time after time after time.
Lowe's One and Only interior paint. The one and only paint you'll ever need.
Well, when I say not to bring anything from last year into this year, I mean negative stuff or resting on your laurels. The fact is that when you accomplish something at a high level in your profession or in your playing career, you should be more confident. Now, what do you do with that confidence? Do you stop working or do you work harder?
Well, I bet you they're back at the free throw line probably before the night's over.
Well, one thing that won't happen, remember the loss to Virginia last year where they did not play well and get blown out of there. They escaped not only with a victory this year, but Grant Hill escaped without the broken nose because they returned back to Durham last year and immediately started to scrimmage. So that is one hurdle they're over this year. And, talk about the future at Duke. They're playing now without a senior on the floor, 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a junior. So the cupboard is anything but bare in the younger class.
After that Virginia game, Billy's talking about, Bobby Hurley says, we knew right away we'd be back at practice at 1 in the morning. Meek inside, he's fouled.
There's a young man, of course, that everybody knows the story about being hit by that the automobile. Many people thought that it might eliminate his career. Not only did it eliminate his career, I mean, he's back this season, which not many people expected at all.
Eric Meek, the guy we're talking about at the free throw line.
And what I have seen of him in 2 practices, and now this is the second time I've seen him in action, I think the young guy's going to be a better player than was anticipated.
He's got the size and bulk, that's for sure. 6'10", 240. Had to go to his high school graduation in a wheelchair because of that automobile accident. And here he is at the line. And again, Duke struggling, but Grant Hill just calmly takes it out of there. Duke 16 out of 30 on their free throws.
I haven't checked the record book, but I would imagine you've got to go back a lot of games to find them shooting that one. But of course, they're getting to the line again.
Thomas Hill followed his own shot, somehow stayed in midair long enough to put that back up. Meek will try it.
Keeping that ball alive.
And last touch by Bristol underneath, so Duke will still have it. Blakeney will check back in.
See, there was a case of Meek, without the experience, rushing his shot a little bit. You know, he's got a little 12-foot jump shot. With a little more experience, I mean, you just put that one in without any trouble. Here's like it's a one chance, your hands get shaky.
Right. It's an ACC game.
Yep.
76-59. Duke with just under 3 minutes to go.
Clark has got a lot of offensive moves with that ball.
Who's this guy?
Yep.
And Grant Hill will be called for the charge.
Good slasher from the outside, though. He really comes in off of that wing. What I think Grant's got to do is start getting used to taking the jumper when it's there, you know, making the slashing move when it's there. He seems to be undecided as to which one to do, and that's why he's picking up some of those charges. You know, pulling up short with a little 10-foot jumper. They stay in the zone. Right off Burns.
Burns fresh off the bench and fresh off his hands.
And fresh out of time.
2:38 to go. Here comes Grant Hill on the run.
Maryland was coming with 7 straight here at Cole Fieldhouse prior to tonight. The problem is they're facing a Duke team that had 8 straight wins against them.
And there's Meek with a nice strong move to the hole, and he got the basket and drew the foul. And that's going to do it for Chris Kerwin.
It's a good, solid move. Maybe a little push off there by Meek. Slides right between the defenders, shows good strength on the inside.
Chris Kerwin will sit down with just 2 points, but he had 8 rebounds. He did a nice job tonight.
Solid game.
And he gets a nice round of applause from the folks here in College Park.
ODU transfer. I see Kenny Blakely back out on the floor here, of course, a local DeMatha product. And, you know, one of the guys that has to, that everybody, not as a player, but as a fellow that coached at DeMatha, part of the legacy that's developing of coaches that have come out of that particular program is Perry Clark down there at Tulane.
Unbeaten.
Had his club undefeated, now a ranked team. Took that club that didn't even have a basketball team when he arrived, has sat out that 1 year and started putting the program together and win at Louisville. Just a tremendous job on his part.
Couldn't happen to a classier guy either.
I was down at Georgia Tech working with Bobby Crimmins for so many years.
Foul inside. That one's going to go on Garfield Smith. That'll be his 4th. Don't forget, tomorrow night we got more ACC basketball action. 8 o'clock start from Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels will host the Clemson Tigers. Join us for that one.
Now, if the string keeps going, Meek missed the last 2 times, Duke could end up under 50% for the game free throw shooting.
And then we have a scoop, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I don't believe that has happened in a number of years.
Well, Meek clanked the first one off.
I wonder if we could get Marty Arnoff to check that out. If Duke has had a free throw shooting game under 50% any time. Now, we talk about being under the press here,
Don't ask Mike, though, about
I mean, you got 2 minutes to figure that out, Marty.
And there's a lane violation on Christian Ast. He steps in early, so wipe out that free throw altogether.
You know, I didn't realize this till the other day, that does not count as an attempt.
That's just a...
Yeah, it's a wipeout. I always assume that if your teammate steps in the lane like that, it costs you, but it really doesn't cost the shooter.
Yeah, McClinton buries one outside. Second three-pointer of the night.
Throw it long. Now, Burton, of course, the famous walk-on that made it in the trials.
One of 38 guys in a tryout in mid-October, and he's on the court. Meek inside.
Good touch hands again. Got plenty of spins.
81-62. Under a minute and a half.
Don't you think after you've seen him miss a few free throws, you'd probably foul him in there instead of letting him get in that shot?
That'd be a good idea.
Sure.
Burns with a left hand.
Crystal almost gets a great steal there. Now here's where Duke's got to think about going long, because Maryland's pushed everything up now, trying to make the inbound steal go long, not that long.
That went right into the scorer's table.
Easier said than done. It was the right idea, but maybe the wrong fella trying to implement it. Christian Ast trying to go cross-court. Did Marty do it?
Boy, he did it, didn't he?
Yep. What year was that?
Last year.
Oh, yeah, great. Nice going, Billy. You're all over it. It was 1991, February, not even a year ago. They were 11 for 25 against NC State.
Yeah, we put Marty to the test, though, and he came through it. That's just as much fun as us being wrong.
You know, that's like the statement that I made not too long ago to Jim Nance, my partner. Everybody knows Greg Kubek played in 4 Final Fours. First man in the history ever to do that. And I said to Jim, well, that isn't going to happen for a long time. And he said, oh, you don't think Duke will make it back to the Final Four this year? And I forgot all about the guys that are, you know, Christian Leitner and crew. They've been there 3 times, so they have a chance to. I said it'll take a long, long time. It'll be a year.
Not the way they're playing so far, about to go to 9-0, and this hasn't even been an impressive Duke win by any stretch of the imagination.
There's an impressive drive, though. Clark with the left hand. I really like the way that fella can maneuver offensively.
You know, you're not playing well, and you're winning by 17 with 23 seconds to go.
Yeah, on the other guy's home court.
Yep.
I thought McClinton got fouled on that play.
Soto underneath, and he is fouled. Gives us time right now to take a look at our Nations Bank players of the game. I don't think there's any doubt. Thomas Hill, 25 points, 8 rebounds, and he sparked Duke early, Billy.
Yep, and if people don't realize, that's the new name of what used to be NCMB, and those people that are now all part of a new and giant and progressive bank.
There's Thomas Hill, player of the game for Duke. Walt Williams for Maryland with his 7 rebounds and 25 points. So congratulations to those 2 guys. At the free throw line, Gene Soto from Puerto Rico, and he clanged one. There's Walt Williams. A lot of turnovers tonight. You won't see that often from him, that's for sure.
Well, again, he tried to operate from so far away from the basket against a good team that knows how to play defense, and that cost him a number of turnovers early in the game.
Soto missed them both.
Attacking the ball, look for somebody to hit.
Here comes Burt. You'd like to see him get one. Not that time. Horton picks up the loose ball with just moments left. Can't get it. Ross trying to follow, and it's all over. Duke does not play that well, but they still come out with a big win. Final, Duke wins it 83-66.
ACC basketball has been brought to you by Buick, US Air, Pepsi, Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company, and by Budweiser.
Don't forget, tomorrow night, more ACC basketball action from Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels will host the Clemson Tigers, an 8 o'clock start for that one. Be sure you join us. That's going to do it from Cole Fieldhouse. Steve Craddock, our producer, Billy McCoy, our director tonight, and the final 83-66. You've been watching exclusive coverage of ACC basketball on the Raycom and Jefferson Pilot